and welcome to Galactic Goddess TV. I'm your host, Rada Nelia, and today we have Miss Angela Braden. She is a relationship coach and psychological practitioner specializing in couples. And today we're going to be talking about casual sex versus sacred sex. So welcome, Angela.
Thank you, Rada.
What a big
Pleasure to be
topic.
here.
Yay. I guess we could jump right in because this is a loaded topic.
Yes, it is. You and I both noticed kind of around the same time we started to notice this push for polyamory in the culture, the cultural consciousness out there on social media and everywhere. And it's not new, but it is increasing as you have noticed. And we both just really want to address some important truths about this issue and surrounding this issue. So thank you so much for taking the time to bring me on to help people navigate what is polyamory, why is it being sort of promoted, unfortunately, everywhere it seems in our society, and why should we care, and what are the best ways to make informed choices about our intimate lives.
Absolutely. Do you want to just give a very general understanding of what polyamory is? Because some people might not know that word.
The way that it's being promoted in society is for a variety of different kinds of non-monogamous relationships. And you'll hear terms like conscious non-monogamy, or it's really just an open relationship, right? Where people do orient themselves to the relationship. So there's a couple, a two-person couple, but they have a mutual understanding and the rules vary and the boundaries vary. They have a mutual understanding that they can be romantically and sexually involved with other people outside of the relationship. Usually it's both partners are having outside experiences outside the relationship. So it's a unique to the couple, but
They make their own rules.
it's not monogamy. So that's the issue. And as a practitioner and someone who's passionate about attachment, I call myself the attachment activist because even before, the poly versus monogamy, that's just one on the micro level, an example of the attack generally on attachment in our culture. And so I personally, my perspective is to push back against the polyamory propaganda, because I think that it's going to cause a lot of people a lot of pain, for one thing. That's one thing we know. And that it's depriving people of the beautiful, powerful benefits of monogamy. My message today is really about the benefits of monogamy and the things that if you do choose poly, no judgment, but just know what you're missing out on, because the things that you have to do in order psychologically in order to participate in poly experiences are the exact same things that prevent you from fully experiencing the benefits and the gifts of monogamy. So it's people have the misconception, I think, that they can have it both ways. And just unfortunately, because of the way that we are built as human beings, our social and emotional brain dynamics, our neurochemistry, right? Especially our neurochemistry, because of these just realities, biological realities, it isn't going to work both ways. And so just being able to give people this information so that they can make informed decisions and not sabotage their future relationships or their current relationships, which is what it usually does. Most experts in psychology, even though that the push for monogamy is influencing at the highest levels of psychology there, and I'll tell you more about what I learned recently in my continuing education courses. Was quite shocking. The psychological community there is that push coming through, but if you really look at the data and the thought leaders who are truly knowledgeable, like Jordan Peterson, were speaking out against poly and casual sex in general, you realize that those are the same things that cause problems later in the future. So it's important to at least realize the risks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the risks also in the rising STDs. Like, how come people think that they're immune to these STDs, and why do they think that they can just have a poly relationship and then they're bringing home all kinds of stuff to their partner, who the more active one is probably bringing more stuff home. How does that turn out, like how, the trust issues, the feeling of betrayal, there's a lot that can happen, and actually the more serious deadly diseases are on the rise. It's pretty shocking. It's been in the news a lot. All of these old things are resurfacing. So what do you think, as someone who works with couples, what would you say about that?
Yes, well, the STDs are resurfacing, and that is a real risk that people who want to pursue open relationships really have to address. How are they going to stay safe? But you asked, as a specialist in couples, what I would say as a specialist in couples is that when you embrace monogamy and you are keeping yourself for one person neurologically, that is the healthiest way to be with your sexuality. And and so, I mean, I can talk about all of those amazing benefits when the feminine and the masculine come together in a divine way. So in the sacred union, as Radha and I, call it. And of course, many people embrace that theme and that context around sexuality. And the reason is because you really can't have the mind-blowing sex that everyone wants without monogamy. Monogamy is the thing that contains the sexual energy and protects each partner's emotional and psychological well-being, so that you're bringing your full self to the act and not just your physical self. And when you are bringing your spirit, your soul even, which obviously you can't do in a casual sex experience, but when you are bringing your soul and your whole self into sexuality, of course it's going to be more powerful and more satisfying, and you have that vulnerability that is deeply fulfilling, both for the woman and the man. So in the feminine and masculine dynamics, what really nourishes the man's masculine psyche is the surrender of the feminine. So when the feminine feels very safe and open and vulnerable and can fully express her sexuality, that's the exact thing that men feel more satisfied and more fulfilled in experiencing the woman that way. And so I think that's just one example of what you're going to miss out on in a poly experience. You're missing that deep connection and vulnerability that really creates the best sexual experience. That's what I know from couples.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's talk about the correlation between narcissism and the need for many partners, also how they source their self-esteem and energy from having so many, and how that dynamic works. Whereas usually, in a narcissistic relationship, there's one person that is like the empath, and so they're sitting there probably feeling terrible.
Yes, that's so good of you to bring up, because that is one of the sales tactics, or one of the messages that convince women, especially, because let's face it, it's the men more that want the poly relationship than the woman. So a lot of times, couples come to me and one of them wants it, one of them isn't sure. Of course, everyone has their own set of feelings and needs around what they're trying to achieve or what's appealing to them. And so that is one of the ways that women are being hooked in, or men too, are being hooked into this poly relationship, because there are a lot of narcissists out there, and people don't realize that there's about a 1 in 10 chance that the person that you're with is either a narcissist or a sociopath. And so be aware here. If you're considering polyamory, you have to ask yourself, is my partner a narcissist or on that spectrum? Or are the influencers who are pushing this polyamory open relationship propaganda, are they narcissistic? You have to ask yourself that, because if you are narcissistic, then this is kind of the way to go. Honestly, it works for them. It works for them.
Yeah.
But if you're not narcissistic or sociopathic, if you want a soul connection with someone and you want to experience that connection with them through true intimacy and vulnerability, then poly is not going to be healthy for you. For the neurotypical person, let's say, the mental healthy person, it isn't going to satisfy you in the ways that they tell you it is. It's not the most mind-blowing sex. If you want to understand what is the most mind-blowing sex, what is great sex, that's what everyone's after, right? And what it involves is a full surrender, the feminine surrender especially, to the masculine, and wanting to experience their essence, the essence of the person. So that's more than just their physical body. That's their energy. It's an energy exchange. It's supposed to be an act of love. So you're expressing your love for the person and for the different aspects of the person, even their physical aspects, their personality, their emotional support. And it's supposed to be this physical and psychological and emotional and spiritual even exchange between two people. It's instinctive. We know that you're not going to be experiencing all of that in a casual sex experience. I would point everyone to Kim and Nami, a thought leader who's influenced me so much in the area of the gifts of monogamy. And she's incorporated all of the neurological science and the ancient Taoist and ancient Indian Ayurvedic medicine. So a great resource to understand your full potential for sexuality. And honestly, Rada, I think that is what people who are exploring polyamory are really after. They want the ultimate sexual experience, and there's nothing wrong with that. What the problem is that it's kind of a facade. It's kind of a trap, right? Because the ultimate sexual experience is like what Kemanami teaches, because she integrates ancient Taoism and what all of the ancients knew about sexuality and medicine and health, and all of that was integrated. Spirituality, sexuality, and health was all integrated. She teaches how you can deeply heal through sexuality when you're with a true intimate partner, when you are having sex within true intimacy, that it can actually heal childhood trauma, your past relational trauma. And I believe that, well, I know from working with couples that that's entirely possible. And there's a lot of power and magic in that. And so, but even if you aren't exploring sexuality according to ancient Ayurvedic techniques and philosophies, we all still kind of have that sense that we want to elevate spiritually with the person that we love. And all of that just goes out the window with poly open relationships. It's not possible in that context.
Absolutely. I also think it's extremely different for a man. It can be different for a man and a woman. I mean, men have basically been trained to see women in a certain way. I feel like so many men watch pornography and then think that's what women want, and that is not. And oh, that is not what white women want. So it's so important that you know that, because it's like the opposite of what women want. That's
Yes.
been trained. You see, men learn from an early age, so they start an entrainment. How does that affect? Because there's so much desensitization that
Mhm.
I think people are so disconnected from themselves, and that's the deep longing for that intimate connection, and they're going about it in all the toxic ways that are not actually fulfilling what their true desire, which is to feel themselves again with a beloved.
Yes. And that's one of the lies that people are sold, that what they really want is love. And the more people you have sex with, the more love you're getting from more people. And that it just doesn't work that way. And so people are kind of setting themselves up for treatment and heartbreak and worse, even poor mental health outcomes when they go down that path of polyamory or an open relationship. From what I've seen from couples is it's the beginning of the end when they do that. And I I don't apologize for being vocal about it because I hate to see that. I hate to see people who really love each other and have been brought together, because that's precious in itself. And when they try to open themselves up to other relationships or go outside for sexual encounters, it is going to chip away at, if not destroy completely, that sacred bond that they have and that they want.
Oh, I've seen that so many times. I've had a couple of friends that they thought they were super chic, cool. And I guess, there's a trend. There's a lot of coaches promoting this.
Trendy, yeah.
So trendy, like, oh, we're in conscious, how do they call it? Like open relationship, conscious,
Conscious non-monogamy.
okay, so anyhow, no judgment, but anyhow, they went into this thinking that they were so liberated and that they were above it all. Like they really thought they were above the regular people. And then in the end, they're no longer together. They're not together. And the women always are like go through severe depression. And also they lose the feeling of trust and self-confidence and self-trust. So they don't trust themselves anymore. And so I've seen a lot of women, suffer. I don't usually keep track of the men because I'm usually friends with the women. So the men continue on their bro journey, but the women are kind of left to pick up the pieces. They thought they were so high and elevated and they were being so spiritual, only to be dropped to the ground.
Right. And that's the lie that they sell you, right? That you're going to be empowered and it's going to be very exciting and growth, oriented. And I think that people can feel that way at first. I think that they can continue to tell themselves that for a while until this runs its full course. But when it runs its course, I'm telling you, it is usually the beginning of the end, unless you are narcissistic or sociopathic. And it's kind of where you need to be, honestly. But like, don't bring people who have needs way beyond that, who have spiritual needs, who are emotionally and psychologically open and can connect spiritually and can share their soul with you. If that's not what you want, then understand that, if you do want that, that's normal. That is our normal baseline of human relational experience. And for men, like you said, they may think that's what they want, but they're losing out in the end too, because when it runs its course, the man it's like dangling this carrot for the man, like of venturous, explorative sex, but really that can be achieved in ways that protect the higher levels of the relationship. And so they may feel like they're experiencing some exciting things, but they're not experiencing the one thing that is the most nourishing to the masculine in sexuality. The thing that is the most deeply satisfying to the man is the feminine surrender. When the woman feels like she can completely let her guard down and completely express herself, actually, that's what nourishes the man. And that's never going to happen in a casual sex or a poly experience. That's only going to happen in a sacred union.
Absolutely. I also want to mention, because I think somehow men don't realize that women will really resent the man. And even if it's very secret, even if they keep their mouth shut and they're holding it in, there's two things that can happen. The woman will end up becoming very ill because she's not honoring her truth. And even if she was kind of raised that way to not honor and respect herself, she'll start to turn up, because if she really loves that man, she is going to feel cheated out of that love. And so she will either turn on herself, or she may hold it for a long time, but she's going to turn on him. There's no two ways about it. This is the truth. And that is something that she will keep, and she'll use it as ammunition, like during the divorce or whatever. That is something that will be, it's something that becomes very nasty. And, maybe in the moment when she thought she was liberated, she didn't think that way. but after he keeps demanding this, and she feels like she can never satisfy him, and a real divine feminine wishes to please her beloved. So if she's not good enough, she's gonna be like, okay, I better just leave this, because if I cannot fulfill my beloved, then I'm better off without him. He's better off without me, or whatever. And these are how the relationship becomes carnage from this. I've seen it so many times, and I've seen so many women broken to pieces, and they don't know how to recover after something like this. They become really hard. I've seen women really armor up, and they
Mhm.
turn masculine, and they're like, I don't, they either go like, I don't care, and they're just like that attitude, but then they're super unhappy, and they're really they don't feel like they can ask for their needs, or they just feel so victimized that they just shut down, and
Yeah, absolutely. It's very destructive to the psyche of both partners, and it's obviously destructive to the relationship itself. The relationship is its own entity, and both partners in polyamory and open relationships, they have to feel at some level, so even if it's subconscious, like you said, that they're being cheated on, because they are. I mean, at a basic neurological level, because when just a quick neuroscience note, that when we have sex, like sexual arousal and sexual experiences, especially orgasm, obviously, right? It is a enormous surge of neurochemicals that are bonding in our brain. And neurons that fire together wire together. That's one of the fundamental principles of neuroscience. And when you are firing those chemicals of pleasure and the bonding hormones like oxytocin and all the dopamine, of course, all of that is wiring with the essence of the person that you're having this experience with. And so your brain is wiring to that person, literally, if you're functioning normally in our normal human state, that the way that it's designed to be in sex, then you're going to bond with the person. And so therefore you are going to feel at some level some betrayal when they go do those exact same acts with someone else that isn't the wired with together with the one partner. Now they're going and wiring the same synapses with someone else. And so it is deep, at a deep level, it's disturbing and feels like cheating, which is damaging. It is damaging to people.
Well, I'd love to dive into your recent continued education. And could you just share, because you told me the story before about what just happened and what they were promoting and teaching, and I just have to question if this is part of the woke mind
Yeah,
virus.
it is, Rada. You got it. You always see things for how they are, way before most people. And yeah, you nailed it there. And I first became aware of the push and the lies that are being promoted about open relationships and casual, the push for casual sex, the hookup culture, all of that, um, being brought to the forefront of the professional psychological community from Jordan Peterson, because he was speaking out about casual sex in terms of mental health, of course. And he said that, in Jordan Peterson, if you don't know, I know you know him, Rada, but like for our audience, he is probably the leading psychologist in the world. He's a brilliant thought leader. Just definitely listen to what anything that he says. He's been such an influence on my perspectives, especially on this. But he literally has been saying that if you are participating in casual sex, he's responding to the question of like, why not? If I enjoy sex, why not? Well, the reason why not is because it's putting you on a path to sociopathy and narcissism. So if you aren't already, like we talked about, this is the kind of sexual experience narcissists want. They're just self-soothing. They're soothing their broken ego, and they're just escaping. It's escapism, and it's a coping mechanism for all of the emotional damage that they have already, unfortunately, the brokenness that they already have. And so that's what casual sex does. And he says that if you aren't already a narcissist or a sociopath. If you continue to have casual sex, you will become one. That's not my words. That's Jordan Peterson, and not a quote. Okay, I'm summarizing what he's saying, but it's never has such a truth been spoken, I think, in terms of this topic.
That's amazing. I really respect him for going against the grain because like yeah, in your recent training, you said that they were actually teaching you to kind of promote
Yes.
this.
So in the field of psychology now, unfortunately, what they teach us, because I just had to do recently another 50 hours of continuing education, as you mentioned, Rada, and one of the classes that I chose was human sexuality from the American Psychological Association. And for those of you who don't know, we have to do these continuing education credits in order to maintain our licenses and certifications, but they are certified. So the classes are certified by the larger psychological organizations, the professional organizations of the world. So these are very vetted in specific ways. The messaging is done according to how the American Psychological Association and the powers that be, like you said, more pushing these types of agendas that are not healthy and not truly family oriented and not really good for us. And Jordan Peterson has called that out in the field of psychology as well. But yeah, the classes that I took, they tell you best practices and they test you on it even. But the best practice is that you are supposed to normalize open relationships. If a client comes to you and they say, I'm thinking about having and opening my intimate relationship up, my partner and I, my husband and I, or my wife and I are going to have sexual experiences outside of our marriage or relationship, then you are supposed to, as a professional, follow the standard of care, best practice, and that is to only discuss with them their options in terms of setting boundaries around it, like what rules they will follow, and to help them navigate the boundaries. And in fact, they even had on the multiple choice question, one option to choose was to discuss the benefits of monogamy, and that was the wrong answer on the test. So they are definitely down with the agenda, right, at a professional level. And people need to realize that going into therapy, maybe if you aren't religious or you're not Christian, you wouldn't think of, do I need to have a Christian therapist? But it may be something to consider if you want to avoid that brainwashing that unfortunately the practitioners have been taught to uphold, of the normalized of open relationships and the downplaying of the power of monogamy.
I really feel that this world is they're so against divine union, but even the sacredness of marriage, like I feel like it's almost an act of rebellion to be in a healthy marriage these days. People don't, they feel that, oh, that's a thing of the past, or that's not how we do it anymore. We're modern, we're so much smarter than the past. But I don't see people being happier, you know what I mean? I really don't. I think in some ways that people, they're really cheating themselves, and I mean, I'm someone that hasn't been married, but I also believe in marriage so much that I'm waiting for the right man, not just any man, I don't want to just jump into anything, but so I feel that there is this attack against union, marriage, coupling, sacredness, monogamy, families, like having a union, a family union too.
Yes, there is an attack on the family union, the sanctity of the family, and the open relationship of the mom and dad is definitely part of that. You and I know that the spiritual warfare, this is a big part of the spiritual warfare. The dark side, whatever you want to call it, that they hate the sacred union. They hate the family union. They hate all of that because it is so powerful and beautiful. The most profound and beautiful things in the world are the ones that are attacked. And that's why you're seeing all of this push for polyamory. I believe that is part of the spiritual warfare. And that's looking at it through the spiritual lens, but definitely from the neurological lens alone, we can see the problematic nature of these kind of experiences because of all of the bonding hormones that happen and how that wires our brains and how it just leads to destruction
Mm.
and poor mental health outcomes. And not to mention, most people who get to this stage of their relationship where they are discussing the possibility of being open, they think, at least at that juncture, that they've found their person. And if they have found their person, how tragic that they would then take that turn and take that path into that's going to destroy the relationship, and they have to try to find the right person all over again.
And also, once you kind of feel that you found the person and you lose that level of trust, it takes a lot to come back, because a woman, I think our hearts are, when we engage in intimacy with a person we consider beloved, we're, even if at first it's casual, there's this bonding agent that happens that really makes a woman feel like she is deeply in love. So even if it's the wrong person, you're bonding now to someone who is dangerous, could potentially be dangerous for you. But you don't, once you feel that emotion of being in love, it's like you're drunk, you can't see anything else, right? That's all you can see. And women, and it just builds inside of a woman. And so also a woman carries a man's DNA, and for 7 years she's also, it's like it becomes part of her.
Yes. Yes, real science. So we don't even have to talk about this in terms of religion or what's right and wrong, morality, any of that. Thing that's important to me, personally, but you don't even have to get into any of that to realize the neurological and chemical implications, the risk for STDs, and just what it does emotionally and psychologically
Yeah.
to understand that it's very risky and that it's not all that it is voted to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great for people who are dead inside, and they're looking to feel something. But then also,
Unfortunately, it's true, Rada. It's true. You're just speaking truth. Things that we're saying here sound harsh. It's only because we love the relationship and the sacred union, and we don't like seeing people get hurt, and we don't like seeing people set themselves up on a destructive path, and we don't like seeing the relationship destroyed, because the relationship is sacred, is meant to be sacred.
always, always. Well, I think that's great for today. I mean, we're gonna have another show. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we go?
Yes, so Rada and I are going to have a part 2 of this, and it's going to be a live. So we want you to call in and ask questions and share your experiences. Are you feeling this push toward polyamory? Is it something that you've considered in your relationship? What are the factors that you considered? And did you realize the risks, that are involved psychologically and physically, and just missing out on that deep, deep connection that at a soul level all human beings desire, and what sex is meant to be, is designed to be. So you don't want to compromise that. You don't want to sacrifice that. You don't want to risk losing out on that ultimate experience. Like the men too. The men are missing out when they think that casual sex is the way to go. And I feel sorry for them, because there's perhaps even more propaganda pushed at men to think that casual sex and having the most casual sex is what's going to really make you feel like a man. And it's such a lie, because what really makes a man feel like a man is winning a woman's heart, and to the point where she trusts him so completely that she gives everything of herself in bed, also in bed and outside. You're not going to get that in a casual experience. And I think all men should be told that. All young men even should be told, this is what you're going to get in a casual experience, and this is what you're going to get in a sacred monogamous experience. And we should play the clip of Brooke Shields, because she talks about how someone that she chose to not have sex with because she was so on the date and she was so in love with him, and she expresses in such a beautiful way what it would have meant to her. And she was smart enough to know that it wouldn't mean anything to him. And that's what destroys, right? Whenever it is so meaningful to one partner and it is not meaningful to the other partner. And I just wish every young man would understand this going into manhood, that this is what it can be like. Do we have time?
Yeah, have it available.
So let's play this clip, because I wish every man and women too to understand this is normal. This is what is actually a normal way to feel about sex.
Because I kind of loved him too much.
Where can he take you? You're two of the most famous people in the world.
Well, first we go out to this pub with the rest of his family. And he's like, "You want to get out of here?" And I was like, yeah, I do want to get out of here. Not kidding. It was like the best kiss I've ever had in my life. And I was like,
It was not disappointing.
oh, beyond not disappointing. I froze though, because it was so precious to me. And I was like, oh my God, you're falling in love. And if you sleep with him, he may not talk to you again and you can't handle that.
Right. You were smart. You did the kiss. And then he probably wanted to go right to the sack.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I thought I wasn't playing a game. I really was I was so afraid of being really hurt, because if I slept with him, I would have given him my entire universe, my heart, my everything.
So, okay, the rest of the story isn't really as relevant here, but just that idea, I thought she captured so beautifully, of giving your whole self, all your energy, your soul, that soul connection. And that's what really nourishes the man. And that's what men, I think, are missing. And it's okay. It's normal. It's all normal. It's normal for women to feel that way. And it's normal for men to even feel that way at some point. Men can bond through sex too, although they don't necessarily, right? So we have to be aware that they don't necessarily, but they do have the capability to, and in the right context, when love grows and the right kind of man and the right kind of woman, they can have that.
Beautiful. That was a beautiful share. I really, wow, that was amazing. I could feel her passion and how she felt so much. And it's easy in those moments to just give in to desire and hope for the best. But the truth is, yeah, exactly what she said. You don't know the outcome because you don't know enough about this, about the terms of this relationship. You have to really get to know somebody really, really well and have conversations about what it means to each person. Because if you just go by the passion, like those passion flames can burn out as fast as they're created.
If that's appealing, a woman giving her everything and feeling the way that Brooke Shields explains, then just understand that that's not going to happen in casual sex. That happens in a deeper, intimate relationship.
Absolutely.
And it requires monogamy.
Beautiful. Well, I want to remind everyone that we're doing a part 2. So please leave your comments below, leave questions below, anything you would like us to discuss or you'd like me to ask Angela. Go ahead and share, because this is an ongoing conversation. We are in spiritual warfare, and this is a time to really think about all these things and not just take everything that's being thrown at us and digesting it. Use your discernment.
Use your discernment, because you are being programmed. Every day, the programming is coming at us, and we have to be aware of it, and we have to be true to ourselves and not be afraid to assert what's normal, what is actually our normal humanity. And if anyone is interested in evolving as a couple to your ultimate relationship, I have the couples program, and you can watch some of the highlights from it for free on my website at Expertise TV and learn about how we bring couples to the ultimate relationship and clear the barriers that get in the way, which this kind of open relationship stuff would be a barrier that would get in the way to the ultimate relationship and the best sex, by the way.
Yes. Beautiful. We'll put all your information below so people can find you, they can reach out. It sounds like a lot of people are ready possibly to receive this kind of support. And I really respect you and your work and how much you you know, you keep learning, you keep training, but you also use your own discernment. And I really value what you have to say. So thank you so much, Angela, for coming on today. I look forward to seeing you again next time.
Thank you, Rada. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in.